You probably thought that person was strange. A little too quiet, a little too intense, always somewhere else in their head even when they're sitting right in front of you. And somewhere along the way, without meaning to, you filed them under difficult. What if you filed them wrong? Because the patterns that make someone hard to read aren't always signs of something missing. Sometimes they're signs of something extraordinary happening underneath. This is decoded psychology, where we go past the surface of human behavior and into the machinery beneath it. What you're about to hear may change how you see the quietest person in the room, including possibly yourself. Here's what the research actually shows about extremely high IQ minds and why almost none of it looks the way you'd expect. Start with something most people dismiss as odd. Talking to yourself. Not muttering occasionally, genuinely working through thoughts out loud, alone, in a room, mid-task. Research in cognitive psychology has documented what's called private speech, the practice of externalizing internal reasoning through spoken language. It's the same mechanism children use when they're learning complex tasks, and it doesn't disappear in highly intelligent adults, it intensifies. When a mind is holding multiple layers of a problem simultaneously, speech becomes a form of cognitive scaffolding. It's not confusion talking. It's complexity trying to organize itself. And here's the part that complicates everything: the detail most people never reach because we have to get through something else first. These minds also go completely still. Long stretches of apparent nothingness. Staring, sitting, seeming from the outside to be doing absolutely nothing productive. Neuroscientists have mapped what happens in those moments, and they gave it a name. The default mode network, a system that activates precisely when the brain appears idle, generating novel connections, resolving incomplete problems, producing insights that focused, effortful thinking couldn't reach. Newton wasn't working when the apple fell. He was resting. The pause isn't laziness wearing a disguise. It's where the actual thinking lives. Now think about someone you know who seems allergic to small talk, who gets visibly restless at surface-level conversation, not impolitely, but unavoidably, like they're trying to hold her breath in a room with the wrong air. Research on gifted adults shows they consistently form fewer but significantly deeper relationships. Not because connection doesn't matter to them, it matters intensely, but because shallow exchange doesn't register to their nervous system as connection at all. It registers as noise. They're not being cold, they're waiting, holding out for a conversation that actually goes somewhere worth going. The same pattern shows up in how they absorb rules and systems. Tell a high IQ person what to do, and before compliance, before any decision at all, their prefrontal cortex has already started running the underlying logic. Psychologists tie this to a core marker of high cognitive ability: intellectual skepticism, an almost involuntary audit of incoming information. The question isn't whether to follow, it's whether the thing makes sense. And without that foundation, an instruction feels like a building with no foundation. They don't resist rules. They resist rules they can't see the reason for. There's a significant difference, and most people never notice it. Now here's the piece that stays with people. Leon Festinger's work on cognitive dissonance showed how painful it is for the human mind to hold contradictory information. But what his research also implied, and what later psychologists built on, is that higher-order thinking produces a more refined sensitivity to inconsistency. High IQ individuals don't just notice when something doesn't add up. They catalog it. They file it quietly. They don't always say anything, but once a pattern of contradiction is logged, it is almost impossible to unlog. This is why some relationships seem to shift without explanation, why someone who was engaged and present simply becomes distant over time. Not because of a single event, because of 100 small ones added up, noticed, and never forgotten. This is where we can close the loop on something. Remember the stillness, the solitude, the apparent distance. It's not absence. It's fullness. The interior life of a high IQ mind is genuinely, substantively occupied by ideas, by unresolved questions, by a metacognitive awareness that cognitive psychologists describe as watching your own thinking from the inside. Psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski called this overexcitability, an intensity of inner experience that exists a different register than most people ever access. Solitude isn't something they endure. It's where they can finally hear themselves. The question worth carrying out of this video isn't what makes someone intelligent. It's what we might have written off in someone else, or quietly in ourselves that was never the flaw it appeared to be. If this opens something for you, stay with us. Subscribe to Decoded Psychology, there's a lot more worth understanding. And the next video, it's about a psychological mechanism that quietly controls how much you trust yourself, and most people have no idea it's running.